Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Chief said that there should be only 6 positions and I complied. The second story. Manager did not want me to listen to music at the workplace. I stopped doing extra work. The third story. I got a frying pan as a gift for my long and devoted service. And the first story is only 6 items per bill. I used to work as a server in a restaurant. Part of the job, hopefully obviously, was to tell the kitchen about the food customers have ordered. We did this by ringing in the order on the till, which would cause a bill to print out in the kitchen. A problem came up sometimes with larger tables. The bills that printed out with so many food items would, after hung up in the appropriate place in the kitchen, get in the way of the chef as he was trying to organize everything. It was perfectly reasonable to initiate some change in processes to prevent this. Since you read the title of this thread, you already know what this change was. No more than 6 items per bill. So if you had a table with more than 6 people, you had to ring in some of their food, then stop, then ring in the rest, as if they were a new table. Honestly, it wasn't that big a deal. It was easy to do. One day I had a table of 6. They all ordered steaks. I happened to find myself in the kitchen area after I rang in their order, and I noticed a bill getting in the way. It was mine. I had a bit of an aha moment. When I rang in a steak, I had to include how it was done, which side they wanted and which salad. Each of those specifications added an additional line to the bill. I thought back to the motivation behind the 6 items per bill rule, and from that point forward I decided to cut my bills off even earlier when they were full of steaks. No one ever mentioned it, but I felt good about myself because I was making my coworkers' lives easier. Sometime later I was sat with a table of 7. They all ordered pastas. Pastas, when I ring them in, only occupy a single line each on the bill printed out in the kitchen. I did some quick analysis, and I realized that many of the bills I had sent back with only 3 steaks were longer than a bill with 7 pastas. So I didn't bother to split up these 7 items onto separate bills. Chef lost his SH. He stormed up front and yelled in my face about the 6 item per bill policy, within earshot of customers to boot. He crumpled up the bill, threw it at my feet, and refused to make any of the food. I had to track down a manager to delete the order in the system, then ring it in again. A little while later, I was sat with another table of 7. The first guest ordered a steak. So did the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. The final guest ordered a pasta. Even after the SH storm I had recently put up with, my instinct was still to ring in 3 steaks and the pasta, send it, then ring in the other 3 steaks separately because they would have been the most convenient for the chef. But the malicious compliance got the better of me. I rang in those 6 steaks, hit send, and included the single line of pasta all on its own separately. The bill with the 6 steaks was more than twice as long as the one with 7 pastas that caused all the ruckus. Chef came out and asked me if I could split things up more evenly next time. I looked him right in the eye and said to him, "I'm sorry, chef. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to split things up to make them the same length. I can only count to 6 and start another bill." The manager pulled me aside later that day and chuckled with me about it. He asked me not to do it again, but he chuckled with me. I didn't need to do it again though. I had made my point. Chef didn't complain the next time I sent back 7 pastas on a single bill. I worked as a waiter and I know what the OP is talking about. Had the same problem. We had 2 chefs who do different things. They never told me to split things that way until one night the dude lost his temper and yelled at me, telling me I needed to split orders. The dude got mad at me and I went to the boss and told him what had happened and that some things had been said inappropriately. The owner made us talk privately and we found common ground. Everything is fine now. Normally when the checks come through, they'll put them together. We do this at my restaurant as well, but sometimes when it's slammed, they'll sell checks just to get the food out of the window, leading to the food coming out staggered. Several times on Friday nights, half the group would get food, and the other half would have to wait around 10 minutes. And they just look at you like you have to do something about it. After serving so long, I've learned how to entertain and distract, so it all works out in the end. The second story is, it's usually not a good idea to peeve off the person who keeps the department ahead of schedule. So I work for a grocery store as a personal shopper for their in-house grocery pickup and delivery service. Not to toot my own horn, but I am uncontested the fastest and best employee in the entire day shift. For context, I can pick around 100 to 120 unique items per hour, while the average person does around 60, which is the expected minimum. It's safe to say that this department relies on me quite heavily, to the point where the department manager has to find 2 people to replace me when I can't come to a shift. This is mainly because I find the job pretty boring, so I throw in an AirPod and listen to music. I'm fast mainly because it makes me feel like I'm actually doing something while I'm here. It's also important to note that there's no incentive for me to perform more than anyone else. I don't get paid more, there's no recognition, I just do it because it keeps me busy. Now one of the assistant store managers doesn't like me. I can't figure out the reason, but she doesn't. Either way, she decided today that it would now be a rule that you couldn't listen to music while picking groceries, as they didn't know what you were listening to. Nothing in relation to not being able to hear customers, which I could anyways. Now I asked others about this tile, and they hadn't been told anything, and were still wearing earbuds and listening to music. That song is not approved by corporate. Her, probably. It's important for us to have at least a 1-hour buffer. It allows us to call customers to review changes made to their order, and then adjust anything as per their request. This is how we ensure their satisfaction. Today it was really busy. We could barely keep that buffer with me at full productivity, which I was until being told no more music. That's when things began to nosedive, and fast. Within half an hour, we had lost half of our buffer, and by the time I was done my pick, we had completely lost it. This ASM is now being chewed out by the GM because we're behind, and that's a serious issue. She then looks at the chart that shows our pick rates and asks him where I am, explaining that we shouldn't be behind with me there. All the while, I'm sitting there taking my sweet A time writing bin tags until she confronts me as to why I'm picking so slowly. I explained that I had no obligation to go above and beyond, and that because there was a clear double standard being held, I didn't see a reason to perform at a higher level than the rest of the department. After the cogs in her head finally stopped turning, she realized that it's probably best if she allows me to listen to my music and sends me on my way. Within 2 hours, I've created us an hour buffer again. Needless to say, she learned an important lesson in cause and effect today that I doubt she'll be forgetting soon. Edit. I started about 2 months in after having an absolute nightmare of a morning. Car got backed into while parked in the middle of the night. Got to work, forgot all my stuff, drove home only to get a speeding ticket while on my way back to work, after because I didn't want to be super late. The rest of the day I just didn't care if they got mad at me for it or not. I just needed my own music to keep myself together. I've been doing it ever since, and my productivity at work has only gone up since then, so it wasn't an issue with my work. Seems like some people just have to abuse their power whenever they have it. Edit 2. I deliberately make my availability low, partially because I'm a uni student, but also because I'm aware that due to my seniority, I'll get more shifts than some of my colleagues who actually need the hours. This allows them to get more and keeps the work and school balance in check for me. I don't plan on staying much longer. It's a lot of expectations for not a lot of money. I can understand why they want us to be able to hear them. After all, people stocking shelves only specialize in one section, while we go around the whole store. Problem is that by having us help customers is slow down the rate at which we can pick. In the end, corporate will always choose the option that requires them having to pay less people, and that's how we ended up doing both. You were doing a good job and she decided to show her power. Why? If your performance is good, why not leave you alone and go about your business? You're right that your company set the standard, and as long as you met that standard, you shouldn't be fired. And you're even right that a targeted rule like that is both unfair and stupid. Your management was too stupid to understand what something for nothing meant. They thought they owned your soul. Now they understand better. Other than that, they still get something for nothing. There are better places to go with your skills and energy. But don't abuse it because it can end badly. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you can always do what you want to do. You have to find a middle ground. If you want to get ahead in the company, leave your headphones at home and make peace with ASM, even if it means apologizing for nothing. They aren't going to put someone who appears entitled, or at the very least semi-serious, in a management position. The last story is, the company appreciates your long and devoted service. Have a frying pan. Inspired by a recent post by someone cashing in their unused canteen allowance on leaving by bulk ordering wine and chocolate gift packs. I worked in the London office of a large, respected, and well-known international US-based organization who liked to profess, believe, and pretend they were a caring, sharing, benign, and PC employer who truly cared about members of the corporate family and only had our best interests at heart while they shafted us. The usual: years of pay freezes for us proles, job vacancies unfilled doubling our workload, essential equipment left obsolete, etc., etc., while the bosses gave themselves increasingly huge bonuses, fancy titles, and perks. They were particularly proud of their Corporate Employee Service Recognition Awards scheme, which had its own dedicated catalog, and latterly website, where on achieving so many years of serfdom, a choice from a new cornucopia of appreciative gifts would be lavished upon you, with due ceremony, along with a poorly mimeographed certificate of service. I failed to keep a hard copy, which I regret, but certain items we could select remain seared in my memory. 15 years service, for example, could be rewarded with a ring containing a 0.01 carat black diamond, aka coal. Another option at 25 years could be an orange cast iron skillet. You get the picture. Another was something only available to our US colleagues for whom there was no mandatory retirement. 60 years service could earn you the ultimate, a cheap Chinese-made 16-speed racing bicycle. Given that at an absolute minimum you'd have to be 76 to get this, the black joke was that you were encouraged to ride it in heavy traffic in order to rid the company of their pension obligations. Which brings me to our little collective attempt at malicious compliance. It took the company several years to cotton on, but when a home gymnasium setup strangely became available as a 25-year service award, it immediately became the go-to choice of all my worldwide colleagues. Why? Not for any desire for fitness, but because all these things had to be sourced and shipped from the States. Shipping for a crappy but hugely bulky and heavyweight frame, dumbbells and all the weights to Sydney, Delhi, Ulaanbaatar, or wherever probably cost the company at the very least 20 times the value of the item, not to mention the customs duties and import fees. I think this went on for about 5 years before the bean counters clocked it. Myself, I missed out and had to settle for the orange frying pan to remind me how much they valued my 25 years of servitude. It's mounted on the wall for my grandchildren to revere. Edit. I've obviously hit a bit of a common nerve among many of you. To those of you who received long service awards that actually do make you feel appreciated, I'm delighted for you. For the rest of us, I think we're all pretty much agreed that these derisory awards are really just an insult, rubbing in just how little we are valued. Better nothing than a piece of worthless crap. It's not a matter of financial value. A simple, heartfelt, personalized letter from almost anyone further up the food chain, honestly recognizing my service and efforts, would have meant immeasurably more to me than any trinket. It's a strange thing that high executives and CEOs apparently need huge bonuses and stock options to incentivize them to work well, but different rules apply to us peons. Obviously, giving me even a Le Creuset pan would have been a waste, as I'd have undoubtedly sold it immediately. It's always nice to be appreciated. It's too bad it's different at your company. Our company has something like that, and the third party in charge keeps good track of it. The deadline for my 20-year award came up. The third party notified me, and I ordered a nice bling I gave to my wife. 4 months later, my boss tossed a piece of paper on my desk, telling me it was gathering dust in his office so I could have it too. A crappy printed notice of my service. My 25th birthday was up, at which time I had changed 7 bosses in 14 months. I didn't have a real boss at the time, so third-party notification and bulk ordering of gift cards for me, but the company failed to even notice. My 30s came up, the third party does their thing. Bulk gift cards are ordered for me, and I went through 3 more bosses who are now in a completely different country and hemisphere from me. My boss confirms the award over the phone, and that's all she wrote. Well, the gift cards provided me with a new large-screen flat OLED screen, so I can't complain. I hope you love these stories. Subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications.